The collection of behaviors and beliefs associated with a particular group is popularly known as culture. How is the African culture projected in this modern era? Africanxt 2023, the largest gathering of innovators from across Africa and the diaspora, aims to unlock Africa's fullest potential.
The event is, although it's Nigerians who attend, mostly, people come from all over the world and people watch the live stream from all over the world. And I think it's important, like every aspect, not just the conversations, but the space is part of the storytelling process. And more concerned creating platforms like this so we can tell our own stories. Like, this is our platform. All the majority of the speakers that speak here are either Nigerian or African, so they can be their own mouthpiece and tell their own stories, and the world can watch us and get a true account of what's happening on the ground.
With 6 stages and over 400 speakers, 150 plus sessions, let's take our attention to DW's Africa Link host Eddie Micah and Josie as they engage journalists, media experts, and other panelists in an open, no-holds-barred, mind-opening discussion.
A very interesting panel discussion on a very controversial but interesting topic. Does the international media have, in quotes, hidden agenda in Africa?
It's quite interesting, isn't it? I mean, we just introduced ourselves from international media platforms. So the question is, do we have a hidden agenda being here on the stage? I guess only time will tell. We're about to find out.
How does the international media portray the continent compared to local media?
When we watch the international media and how they project Africa, they make it seem like there is nothing good, really, that comes out of Africa.
The truth is that, yes, there is that negative side of the reporting by international media. And you can also look at the aspect of this, how these stories are told and the kind of stories that are being told. And international media, let me just say, generally can't really report those stories unless they are here. And I think that's one of the good sides
that's why we have our correspondents.
Setting international media, being here, being present here to tell the stories the way it's supposed to be told.
I acknowledge the work that is being done in local media, that local media is doing, and I know that it is not easy, especially because there is a limited amount of resources that they have. It's not really possible to make that direct comparison. But I do think that there is more work to be done from local media, especially given the kind of world that we live in where everything is digital. So, maybe there can be more exploration in the digital space.
Are there any hidden agendas by the international press when covering stories from Africa?
People just say things without any evidence. Like, oh, these people, they have an agenda, they are over-exaggerating. Somebody is going to take what you've said and echo the same thing without any evidence.
I guess, first of all, the moment we are comfortable is never a good moment, because I always like to understand what is it that the audience needs, what is it that they want, what is missing, and what can we bring to the table as international and independent media. So we have no agenda, we just want to make sure that we get something to the people that they would not get otherwise. So that's why exchanging views with the audience is so important. Learning from the audience, learning from our partners like High Impact is so important for us to get the right stories out there.
How can one tell facts-based content from propaganda?
It's by me doing due diligence as a media practitioner. So I already know that my professionalism comes before bias. I mean, we all have our individual biases, like when you're picking a particular story, but I put my professionalism above bias. So that's the best way to pick a story and give it the proper narrative, the right narrative.
Is it necessary to have Africans tell authentic African stories in our own voice?
It's necessary because, that we're living in a world right now where everybody's creating content. And it's very important for me and for everyone to identify with the person who is speaking to me. Not only to identify myself to the topic that I'm listening to, but also to the person that I'm speaking to, I'm listening to.
How do journalists stay safe when pursuing a story?
Many local journalists are not independent in the sense that they have to be careful of what they say because maybe they might get arrested, they might unfortunately even get killed by, people in authority. So of course, I remember my former boss used to tell me that he's a journalist that is alive that can tell the next story. So as much as, yes, I want to encourage journalists to be bold, to be courageous, to tell important stories, I also think that realistically speaking, we also need to measure our risks and measure is it worth it? Is the story really worth your life? Is it really worth your freedom?
We spend a lot of effort in security training on the one hand, and at the same time trying to take care of mental health to avoid traumatization of journalists, seeing pictures live or just on a screen that would never let go of them. So this is really important, and it's something where we really try to be as cautious as we can, because if a journalist falls sick or ill, he or she will not be able to do the job. At the same time, we don't want anybody to get any harm. So we really try to protect journalists working for us.
The way Africans and African youths consume media content is evolving rapidly, especially in this modern digital era.
Someone who consumes a lot of information, which we're in a largely information-based society now. Information, and attention is the currency of the 21st century. Always fact check, always do your own research, always read look for more than one source. Don't just rely on a single source. I like to hold myself to a much higher standard, which is prioritizing the research and prioritizing the quality of what it is that I'm talking about. So for me to do that, I have to be deliberate. Look at stories and go deeply, find the actual source, and don't just take a story that was retold over and over again, that has been modified or has gone through different channels or different layers of conversions.
We are an on-demand first company, so we have shifted some years ago from linear television, which we still do, which is still very strong on our end, more to on-demand first. Now that requires a mind shift. Absolutely. And so people are, the editors on our end, the distribution team on our end has to think differently, because we see this is where the stories are developing. So again, we need to be where the crowds are, the people are on social media, and then we try to understand what stories are needed, and then we try to engage with them, and in this interaction get the right stories out there.
Africanxt emphasizes the ability to cooperate and collaborate across industries and borders, noting that this will determine the impact of the innovations Africa puts forward and our capacity to scale. Reporting for High Impact News, I am Esther Kalu.